Action!
How did you visually communicate God's protection over Washington?
Action 2!
It's going to be a great day. I've wanted to do this for like 20 years, and so finally it's come to fruition. So thank you for being here.
No spikes.
But it's fine.
Isn't that bad?
We need to figure out how to get these guys to lunch, guys.
Listen up, everybody. So here's a couple things. One,
And it can just be quiet. It didn't even have to be, but it just. What if we did where he's limping? That might be better. So you don't want me to sit you. I can tell you that.
Worse than that.
Oh, I thought you were doing the line after that. So we're
As y'all start. Let's walk through. Yeah, let's walk through. So boom. So you start with.
Okay, scene 6, take 1, marker.
I cannot hope to see. I cannot see what.
Before audiences saw George Washington survive impossible odds, a group of determined filmmakers, actors, horses, and crew members worked tirelessly behind the scenes to bring history to life. Today, we're taking you inside the making of Bulletproof. After the long-awaited release of Bulletproof, many of you wanted more, and today we're going to give it to you. I'm Tammy Lane, director and producer of Washington's Armor and Bulletproof. If you're anything like me and have a deep appreciation for the history of America, then understanding George Washington's story is essential. Many Americans aren't familiar with the most challenging aspects of his story, which is why we are so passionate about bringing these stories to the screen. Bulletproof continues the story that began in Washington's armor. This time, we meet a young George Washington at one of the lowest points in his life. Following the Battle of Fort Necessity, his military career appears to be over. Defeated and uncertain of his future, he wrestles with a choice between a quiet life of farming and the calling of God. Of course, bringing a story like this to life takes far more than what audiences see on screen. Behind every battle, every emotional moment, and every breathtaking shot is an incredible team of actors, filmmakers, crew members, horse wranglers, costume designers, and camera operators who poured their hearts into making this film possible. Today, I'm excited for you to meet two of those talented creatives as they take us back behind the scenes, sharing memorable stories, that challenges they faced, and what it was like bringing Bulletproof to life. So, let's go back to where this chapter began. A humble cabin that became a place of refuge for a weary warrior with a God-given mission. Here we are on the Colonial sets at Capernaum Studios.
Yes.
And I'm here with Maddie Wint, and thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me.
Well, why are you here?
Well, I'm here because I was a cast member on a film called Bulletproof, which is the sequel to Washington's Armor, and a continuation of that story.
Very good, very good. And you were in a role where we actually used this set that we're sitting at, right?
Yes, we used this cabin right behind me, and it was my star moment, as some might say. And someone might say it was the best moment of the entire film and project. So, this was where the magic happened.
That's right. So this is actually our mercantile set, but we had set dressed it for Washington's bedroom after the battle. So it was like a fort, and it was after the battle, so he was not feeling too great. He was like, kind of under the weather. So he was recovering here, and then you came in and did your star moment. tell us about your role and what stood out to you after reading the script.
Yes, so I was casted as the provincial soldier. Didn't know what that was before, but upon research, it's the foreign exchange program where somebody would come from another country and they would almost be taken in by a colonel or something like that, and under a volunteer basis would be placed there, almost like a mentorship. So I was mentored, you could say, by George Washington himself. And so, yeah, that's when I would come up, and that's when I got to speak to George Washington. But the thing that I got most out of the script, I guess it was the scale and magnitude of the scenes that I was in. There was a lot going on with a lot of the extras, background, all the moving parts. Just seeing the scale initially on script, that was just really cool and interesting to see that written out, and then later on to see that in full action.
So you were in also the scene at what's called Fort Parker.
Yes.
And that's in Mahia, Texas. Wonderful place. It looks, I mean, that location was amazing. So I think the scale really comes into play of how many people it took there, because there were so many people involved in that shoot when we were on there.
Absolutely. And the really cool thing about it was I coming into it felt completely immersed, because I came in a little bit later that day. My call time was later, and everybody else was already in costume, wardrobe, hair and makeup, on set, playing their part. So the major scene where we kind of weave through the crowds and everything that's happening, people getting bandaged up, other people like figuring out what they're going to eat that day. All of that was happening. Everybody already knew their parts as I came to set. So I was kind of just immediately transported into this colonial style world without having anything done to me at that point. And so it was really cool to walk into that.
Yeah. So we did what we call one shot, and I love doing one shots because it's like you have to choreograph the whole scene.
Yes.
And everybody, all the moving parts have to fit together. So you have to, every actor has to do exactly what they're supposed to do. The cameramen have to do exactly what they're supposed to do. Every cue has to work because you're moving through the scene with the camera, and it's a lot of fun when it works.
Yes.
So how long does it take to do a really short scene? Like this scene in here, you walked in, said a line, and then that was pretty much it.
Right.
So how long, because I think people don't really realize how long it takes to do one little bitty scene like that.
Right. It definitely can take a long time. I think this one took upwards of like 2 to 3 hours, like total from hair and makeup to finishing, to where it was like, that's a wrap for Maddie. Yeah, it definitely can take a lot longer than people traditionally think.
What's the most memorable moment you had on set, and why?
I would say it's between two, and I don't know if it's because I love horses or not, but it was when we went outside to meet the Indian chief. So my role in that moment was looking concerned and confused, because, my character, it was a confusing moment, concerning moment too, because you have this Indian chief coming up and wanting to speak to our commanding officer, one of which he just shot at our commanding officer not too long ago. So yeah, there's a bit of concern there, but just that moment, whatever was captured on film was kind of how we felt in that moment as well. We're just kind of in awe of what was said by the chief. And of course, the battle sequence. I love movement. I love doing as much stunt work as I possibly can. And so being able to run and have fun, pretend to be dead, pretend to not be dead, all that. That was an enjoyable day. It was a long day. That took even much longer than this, but that's because there were so many moving parts. That was an all-day venture.
I want to say whenever actors have to act without saying a line, do you feel like that's more difficult? Because to me, you have to show it in your face and you have to express whatever you're feeling, that emotional, so that it's portrayed on camera without saying a word.
Right.
So to me, that seems like it would be harder.
Yeah, the difficult part or aspect to that is you don't want to overact. You want to react as you would react in that situation. And so, something shocking happening, you think, oh, I want to really get that across to these people. So I'm going to go, no, it was like, no, you just overdid it. Just the eyes widening in that moment is going to tell the audience that you're shocked. So for me personally, it's getting out of my own head of what I think is going to make it across the camera, because the camera picks up everything, every little trickle of sweat. So you don't need to overact. And that's the kind of thing I think about. It's like just subtle, be very subtle and be very normal. It's not theater, so.
Which is why you're a really good actor, and I always want him to come out and act with us. So you you get that, and you do a really good job of it. So.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm working on it.
The last question is, what do you hope audience will take away from watching Bulletproof?
Yes, with this question, I'm thinking back to after I saw the film, after I saw the promo, what did I get out of it? And, it's always personal what somebody gets out of it. So what I got out of it and what I'd like for other people to see in it is George Washington. He was a man that he was in a leadership role. But even in that leadership role, could possibly feel at times that he was out of his depth, could feel like he was not in control of the situations, which none of us are. But God puts us in positions in the right time. And when he puts us in positions to lead, don't question it, just lead and lead well.
We are in our wonderful Stage B area, and I'm here with Joey Nicotra, who was the director, photographer, cinematographer. We'll talk about the difference in that. And we're here together. He did Washington's Armor as well as Bulletproof. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Tammy. Always a pleasure to be at Capernaum.
Yeah, thanks for driving out. I know it's a little trek.
It is a drive, but always happy to be here.
Oh, good. So tell us what is the difference in a DP and a cinematographer, and what do you do? What is that?
Yeah, so a director of photography is really, their job is to bring the director's vision to life from a technical standpoint. And so one of the first things that happens whenever a director or Tammy Lane comes to me is we always have like a powwow to really, for me to wrap my head around the story and what your goals are in telling the story. And then it falls on me to kind of pick the camera that we're going to be using, the lenses that we're going to be using, the lighting, how the camera moves, and then how I can use the camera as a storytelling tool to further tell your story or the director's story. In a lot of ways, I kind of consider a cinematographer and a director of photography the same thing. A cinematographer is really somebody who is making movies at the end of the day, and a DP and a cinematographer are kind of interchangeable in my mind. But hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, that did. So tell me one of your, let's say the most difficult scene.
Yeah.
And it, let's talk about Bulletproof. What would be one of the more difficult scenes on Bulletproof?
I think that what I thought was going to be the most difficult day wound up not actually being the most difficult day. But I will say the long oneer that we did had so many moving pieces to it that it took us, I want to say, 2 full days between the prep day and actual production day to execute that one shot. And it is one of the most proudest shots that I have done in my filmmaking career. But do you remember how many extras we had that day? I want to say it was sub 60, 70
Yeah, I think
people.
it was like 60 or 70 people.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
each one of them had to be independently, choreographed or blocked around the arena, and then we were moving cameras in every single different direction and pulling focus and changing iris mid take, and it wound up shooting in 360 degrees, and there was so many things that could have gone wrong that it took every ounce of both of our abilities to make sure that it went right.
I know it was a blast, and also one of my proudest as well.
Agreed.
But it was very challenging.
100%.
So fun.
Honestly, almost every production day that we had was uniquely challenging in and of itself. I don't look back on that shoot and think, oh yeah, that was the smooth day. Like each day was difficult.
What about the battle? The battle, because he had to fall off the horse. And
in all honesty, this was one of the things that I took away from that day. I was anticipating that day actually to be the easiest day, and it wound up being probably the most chaotic, if we're being totally honest about the situation. That was the day that I look back and pretty much everything that could go wrong felt like it went wrong, between squibs not going off like they were supposed to. We were behind schedule trying to make our day. At one point, we had to make a conscious decision to split into 2 units, just so that we could try to salvage coverage for the day. And there was just so much that I was anticipating that to be the easy day because it was just a montage sequence.
Yeah.
And I think we got out there and we were like, everything is just taking longer than it was supposed to. So, and then the horse, the stunt, everything we really needed probably 2 days to squeeze that in, but we made it in 1. And I actually look back on that day, taking a lot away from that, but also being proud of what we were able to accomplish in the time frame that we had.
Yeah, me too. It was a stressful day.
It was.
And we were filming out on the back lot over here at Capernaum, the woods. And so that in itself presents some challenges when you're out there in the elements.
100%.
So you have that. And then when you add in an animal, that also kicks it up several notches, although that horse was great. Excellent.
That horse was really great.
But I have worked with a lot of horses that weren't movie horses, and this is one thing I learned is that to get a movie horse, because otherwise the horses, if they see one little thing that's out of place,
spooks them.
It spooks them, and it's kind of funny actually. But they just get freaked out. Like whenever we had the Indian painting, their faces were painted, and the horse saw that, and it scared it real bad. So, and that was not a movie horse. That was, So so talking about the battle, how did you make it feel large scale, like a big scene?
Yeah, I think that, a lot of it comes down to strategically placing background extras in the frame, because if we only had, I want to say we had less than 20 roughly, but we wanted to make it feel like there was over 100 people there. And so we had to be strategic, and sometimes, using the same extra in the next scene, but making sure their face wasn't seen. So we were really trying to make sure that there was a lot of bodies in the frame without always showing their face. And then, part of what I like to do, especially in a battle scene like that, is kind of give some handheld camera movement to a lot of those scenes so that it feels more immersive and like you're actually there on the battlefield with them. And so I think that in that handheld camera movement, you can also kind of hide some of the lack of action that's actually happening in the background, to where you're using the camera as a tool to help the audience be immersed right there with the character that you're filming at the time. And so I think utilizing that and strategically blocking background, you're able to kind of have less extras, but make it feel larger than what it really is.
Yeah. And what about having, like when we had the stuntman and falling off the horse and then it picked it up with Willie and that kind of thing? Because you had to get certain angles with all that. And that was, to me, challenging because I was really glad you were there. I was like, I don't know, make that look right.
Right. Well, and I think also something that is fun to do, which we did, is like you create these little vignettes within the war and the battle, to where when Willie's falling off the horse, you know, we're there with him, and we can hear in the background with sound design the war that's going on, but really we're focused and feeling the emotions of an individual character while letting sound design kind of build the world in the background. And so while my job is, you know, important, and, you know, all of the actors and their blocking is important, really sound design plays a huge element in, you know, making the audience be able to hear what's going on around them while not actually seeing it. And so audio is a huge storytelling, you know, tool that really helps an audience be immersed and makes it feel larger than life.
How did you visually communicate God's protection over Washington?
You know, there are two scenes in particular that really spoke into that. One of those being when he holds the jacket up, you know, at the end of the battle, and you see the bullet holes go through the jacket. And one of the things that we had talked about doing early on is we wanted there to be haze in the room so that you could clearly see the light beam where the bullet actually went through in all the bullet holes. And so I think it's one of the most powerful shots in the film when the jacket is revealed and we see that his coat was shot, but that he wasn't, multiple times. And I think that, utilizing haze, I actually don't think that shot would have been as powerful without the haze, to where you could see the line that the bullet went through. And so I think cinematically that really helped further the narrative of the protection of God on George. And then, you know, the other one was in the battle with the Native Americans, when we were very intentional about having multiple moments with the natives, to where we made it very clear that George was right in the line of sight, and really drew attention to the fact that he should be shot multiple times. And so I think that how we told the story and how we shot that, making sure that the audience knew that it wasn't a frantic aimed shot. It was a very calculated, you know, aim, that, and he still missed. That I think that speaks to the fact of God's protection. And then, you know, just from a character standpoint, that's what makes that last dialogue scene so powerful, when he says, "We had you and our rifles don't miss."
Quick, let your aim be certain. He dies. Our rifles were leveled. Rifles which, but for him, knew not how to miss.
And he even, you know, further illustrates that we should not have missed you, which is why that scene is so powerful.
Yeah, and it brings me to the reason for doing this story is because, you know, God had a plan for his life, and he, you know, saved him and watched over him and prevented him from dying early. And so I loved being able to portray that.
And really,
It's
like,
amazing.
it goes all throughout the first movie as well, where we show him fall into, you know, the river, and he should have died then. And, you know, the battle scene then when they were outmanned, and, you know, there's just so many instances throughout both movies where we see visually God's hand on George in the process of becoming the founder of our nation. In 20 minutes, we were able to tell a really powerful story in and of itself. And it's definitely one of the projects that I hold most near and dear to my heart, for sure.
Well, thank you for being here, Joey.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Tammy. Always a pleasure.
We'll see you next time. One of the things that stands out most about Bulletproof isn't just the battles, the historical settings, or even the incredible cinematography. It's the reminder that some of life's greatest setbacks can become the very moments that prepare us for God's calling in our life. George Washington's story is one of perseverance, providence, and purpose. And it was inspiring to see so many talented people come together to reveal his story. If you've already seen the film, we would love to hear your feedback in the comments below. And if you haven't seen it yet, be sure to check it out and experience the story for yourself by clicking the link in the description. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and follow along as we continue taking you behind the scenes of building his story.